Hello, everybody. You can call me Hunch. And sorry, I've been gone for so long. The newest member of my family was just born, my son. So I'm pretty excited about that, but I'm devastatingly exhausted. So give me a break here. Today, I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin, Bitcoin DeFi, the projects that I think are going to make you insanely wealthy theoretically if you embrace them. But I could be absolutely wrong. This is not financial advice. This is just a theory, right? This is pure educational purposes. For educational purposes. Okay, so we're going to talk about it, but I'm going to give you some backstory on how I arrived at this conclusion. And I may sound repetitive, but I just want to drill it into your head about these themes and things that are happening on the charts and so on and so forth. So let's get into it. I made this video about a month ago, and it says look to China for crypto clues. Okay, it was probably a little bit more than a month ago, and that's why I like things like TRACs, which I said was probably a rug pull. We'll still see. TRAC, which I'm obsessed with. Okay, I've been talking about this since this was in like less than 20 cents or around 20 cents, right? It's why I've been talking about Ghosty Cash because, the Chinese market is what's pumping these, I believe, right? And there's a few reasons for that. I said, the Chinese market is heavily restricted about what they can invest in. Usually that's why there's a real estate bubble there. And that makes sense with the Evergrande failure. If you don't know what Evergrande is, please go look it up. It's a huge real estate firm in China. They don't, and this is just what I've heard, they don't let normal citizens invest in certain commodities or stocks or crypto or whatever it is. You have to use a VPN to do anything on the internet, so on and so forth. So to continue on that theme, right, Mario Narfal, I can never say his name, posted this today, Chinese economy cracking as stocks plummet, right? So what does that mean? And I talked about this in this video, right? That means money printer go burr, basically. Okay, so they've got to inflate their currency to pay off their debts, right? How did they create this huge economy, right? Basically debt, right? So how do you service that debt? You don't collect taxes, right? You don't kill the economy. You print, right? You cause inflation, right? Asset inflation, real inflation, whatever the case may be, to lower that debt to GDP. Okay, so that's why I've been so bullish on BRC20s, but Bitcoin DeFi specifically in the BRC20 range. I've also been bullish on Bitcoin going higher than everyone thought because of this, right? So if you can't get your money out of China and they start putting on capital controls, what are you going to invest in? Things that can get your capital out of the country. Rich people find a way. Citizens now have a way, average citizens, but I could be wrong about that. Now, I also want to reference what I've been talking about for a month now. I said it's Eurodollar in the US or hyperinflation. Take your pick, right? So we basically have the same problem China has, except we have demand for our currency, and they don't have demand for the yuan as much. Now, how do we get the Eurodollar to go all over the world, right? They have the Eurodollar in certain parts of the world, and it has a risk curve of its own, so it's not influenced by the Fed. Now, it's affected by the Fed because it causes money to come back or go ship overseas, right? But the Eurodollar system is how we service demand for the dollar overseas that the government really doesn't have control of over here. Now, my theory is we've got to bring the Eurodollar to the U.S. or our currency is going to hyperinflate, right? We've got to match up the yield curve of a free market and basically get rid of the centralized planned yield curve that we have in the U.S. with the Fed. Now, I'm not saying we can't have a centralized Fed dollar over in Europe, right? But I think that would kill demand for dollars, right? And if you don't have a matching yield curve, you're basically going to have an implosion, right? Because you have the interests of these foreign entities who want a dollar in a fair system, right? And then you have the Fed, which is tugging at that fair system, right? And that's why you see, I theorize, like them talking about BRICS currency, right? Trying to get off the US dollar, trying to get off US dollar for commodity trading like oil and so on and so forth. And I think it's because of this tug and pull between the free market yield and the Fed yield, which is more of a centralized system. I'm not arguing the benefits of one or the other. I tend to like the free market, but I'll leave that up to you. Okay, so if we don't embrace this Eurodollar in the US through these Bitcoin DeFi plays, right? That's another reason I'm so bullish on it, because it's like almost we have to, I'm theoretically thinking, right? Now, I want you to watch this clip of Yago. He's one of the contributors to Sovereign, right? One of the Bitcoin DeFi plays that was at $40. It went all the way down into the cents range. and I started talking about why this could be one of the biggest plays ever. So just listen to this.
New situation, which is emerging this year, where Bitcoin is the biggest, and it gets to look at everything that's been built out there and just pick and choose the best stuff and bring it all over. And so if you think of DeFi on Ethereum's big, Bitcoin is 3 times the size of Ethereum, and it's got no DeFi. The projects that are building DeFi on Bitcoin now are going to be 3 times the size of Aave, and they're going to do it in a year. I don't think anyone's prepared for what's about to happen. Now,
okay, so if you don't know what Aave is, it's a DeFi protocol on top of Ethereum. I'll show you the chart here. Okay, so this is the market cap. Okay, you can see it. I can't. How do I zoom into that? Okay, it's basically, if we're getting here, it's at 1.29 billion. Okay, it got all the way, and I can't even zoom to the top. That's how bad this chart is. Right, these bars are ridiculous. I don't know who made this chart. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. But if you somehow scroll to the top, it's around 7 billion. Okay, so now if you think of sovereign, right? If we go in here and we type sovereign, so remember Av topped out at like 11 billion. It's at still over $1 billion, right? If we look at sovereign here, okay, which is pretty groundbreaking. The market cap, so fully diluted valuation is different. That's once all the coins are out in circulation. It's at 60 billion right now. Okay, another important one, Daiko, okay, which I talk about all the time, which is on top of Stacks. They have a stable coin, which is playing into that Eurodollar thesis. That fully diluted valuation is at 10 billion, 10.8, oh, sorry, not 10 billion, 10.8 million, okay. Think about Av. It's in the billions. These are in the millions, and they're Bitcoin projects. Now, I'm not saying they can't fail. There might be a better project on all the Bitcoin L2s that are coming out. But these, I think, have the most legitimacy, right? If you think about things like SAV-M, which, could be a scam, could not. It's leaning more towards scam. I don't know if this is in here, actually. SAV-M. If you don't know what it is, oh, yeah, here we go. They claim to be able to have an L2 on, on Ethereum type system or EVM with rollups. And Yago from Sovereign basically said, no, that can't happen. So, Sago, this is Yago. Now, I'm not an expert, so I don't know for sure all the details, right? I'm not a programmer. I'm just giving you trends and how I'm feeling about the situation, right? And the things that I would theoretically do, right? So I noticed this the other day. Sovereign fast recovery, Daiko fast recovery, right? Eurodollar thesis looking juicy. Now, does that mean the recovery has to be because I think this thesis is playing out? No, but I think maybe it's true, right? The demand for the dollar doesn't want to be restricted by these two opposite end yield curves, right? The free market, which I just talked about, and the Fed-controlled centralized market, right? Which, go watch another video that I made a few days ago. I basically drew this chemistry problem, and I formulated on pen and paper for you. So go ahead and watch that. I'm not going to link it because I'm too lazy, okay? Well, maybe I'll link it in the description. Who knows? Just go check the bottom if I do. Okay, so here's the Arca Deco recovery right here. It went dumped, recover. Okay, and then here's the SOV recovery. Now, excuse all my lines on it because I've been drawing on this for weeks to show you the pump, right? And I can prove I've been talking about this, right? Here it is. Drew that wedge, boom, we're up. Okay, so it dumped around here, right? You can see it, and now it's recovering. Now, is it going to keep recovering? I think so, if Bitcoin can stay bullish. Everything depends on Bitcoin always, but I think this trend of outperforming the market like we've been doing theoretically will continue. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Now, we've got a lot of degens now talking about Sovereign, drawing charts saying, okay, this is where it could end up, right? This guy has, 61,000 subscribers. This guy is drawing a chart saying it's going back to $47, and he's got 60,000 subscribers. So people are starting to put their finger on the pulse, okay, and see what's going on. Now, they've also given us clues like tap, right? Tap is basically a meta protocol under TRAC, which has been my favorite BRC20, right? And I've been talking about this for a long time because of the implications for DeFi, the implications for Bitmap, which is a ordinals collection under Bitcoin, right? The implications for all of that, right? It's into Doginals, so Dogecoin, right? It's got to be indexed, and it comparatively to the graph on Ethereum, it's at 100 million, and the graph is over 1 billion, right? So you could see the upside here, right? I'm just like, think about the upside. You don't need to trade every second to be positioned well, theoretically. So I don't know if that means anything, but it still makes me bullish, right? Because I think they're bullish on TRAC. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, which I don't think that is important because I'd have to go into more detail, but I just want to leave this to the end, viewers who make it all the way to the end. I would be looking at your Xverse wallets, your wallets in general, and trying to separate the sats because they could be worth money. Now, you have uncommon sats, you got rare sats, alpha sats, palindrome sats. Now, how do you do all that? You can go to magicsat.com. You can go to satin.io and type in a Bitcoin address. I just want you to do that to get started on seeing what might be in your wallet. Now, what makes it a rare sat? You can do all that research on your own. It has to do with when it was mined, so on and so forth. So just look into it. Go on Magic Eden. They have a rare sat collection thing you can look at. You know, I know this is ordinals, but just go look at it. Pretty interesting. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about is DMT NAT. Let's see if this even comes up. It may not come up. Maybe I'll leave that for another day. Yeah, it's not going to come up. So I'm not going to talk about it. We'll talk about it in another video. Anyway, you could call me Hunch. Super bullish on these projects, right? They're showing a lot of strength. Another one I didn't mention real quick, Alex, which is another Bitcoin DeFi protocol under Stacks, right? Still undervalued compared to Ethereum DeFi at 176 million, okay? Pay attention, everyone. Things are coming together, I think, very smoothly. Sorry for being gone for so long. You can call me Hunch.